this gothic underground city. We all sin. If I bring a couple rounds with me, then we all win.
Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate. We're back with another episode of Into the Bad Zones. This is a series that's dedicated to our Necromunda Outlanders campaign, and this is battle report number 15. It is a Market Mayhem scenario that is fought between Shade as well as myself. My little sister Shade is bringing Mercator Umbrus, her Clanless Outcasts gang, and I'm bringing the Gung-Ho guns of my house, Escher Outcasts. So what's going to happen is this: we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both gangs as well as the rosters. If you want to see exactly what the gangs are bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So the scenario rules for this one is Market Mayhem. It takes place in the expansion phase of our campaign. The market is set up in the middle of the battlefield, with the rest of the battlefield set up as normal. And the defender has any defenses for their settlement that may be placed on the battlefield as well. The gang with the lowest gang ranking is the attacker, unless rolled for during the scenario phase of an Outlander campaign. Now, this situation I will be defending, and my opponent's Shade will be the attacker. The attacker gets 10 custom fighters, while the defender gets 10 randomly chosen fighters. And starting with the defender, alternating deploying one fire within 12 inches of the battlefield centers. Fighters can't be placed within 1 inch of another fighter. Now, ending the battle. The battle ends when one gang has only one side left with fighters on the battlefield, or the attacker wins if, by the end of the battle, they all destroyed all the defending fighters and put them out of action or seriously injured. Now, I do have home turf advantage on this one because it's taking place in my settlement. And at the same time, because we're fighting in a marketplace, we cannot use strength 5 or higher weapons for shooting anyways. Blast and template weapons can't be used. Rapid fire weapons only shoot once. And fighters can't make any coup de grace actions or make any attacks against seriously injured fighters. And the market can be looted by the attacker as well. Now, as for the rewards on this one, the attacker earns 46 times 10 credits if they manage to win. And if I manage to win, I get to earn D6 times 10 credits. And as for experience, every participant earns 1 point of experience, and attackers earn additional D6 experience for the winning gang leader if they manage to pull it off. Now, as for reputation on this one, if the attacker wins, they earn D3 reputation points, and if any gang bottles out, they lose 1 point of reputation. And because it's an Outlander campaign, if the attacker wins, they either earn D6 power, D6 salvage, and D6 sustenance for their settlement. So the scenario rules over with. Let's go on and talk about turn number 1, and both Shade and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. So let's talk about deployments real quick. So first of all, let's talk about my sister Shade with her gang, Mercator Umbrus of the Clanless Outcasts. So first of all, she deployed within 12 inches of the center of the battlefield in the marketplace. Right on the bottom here, we have Chopper as well as Santo. We have Tugs right behind this set of crates here. We have Soldiers right next to the leader Hagar Freelord. Over there we have Moloko as well as the Deserter, followed by Darko Adani as well as Tough Shakes. And using the Infiltrate special rule, deploy after everyone was done over there, we have the Shipbreaker, which is the Ambot. Now, as for the deployment for the Gung-Ho guns for the Escher Outcasts, up here on the top I have One Shot Blonde as well as Preston Garvey deployed up there. Followed over here on this side here we have Sheikh Shabazz, followed by Zero deployed over there. Over here on the top of this little elevated platform over here, we have Crimson Wind as well as Scalp Taker. Down the bottom, we have Cal Jericho, my leader, as well as Scabs, as well as Amarista, de Catalyst, which is the Bounty Hunter Close Combat Fighter. And then finally, the last of the Catalyst Bounty Hunters over here. This is the character who's armed with the Needle Sniper Rifle. I put her on the top of the green crates here using the Infiltrate special rules. That way she has a good overview of the entirety of the battlefield. And as you can see, that pretty much makes a deployment for the scenario. So with deployment over with, my sister Shade and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first in turn number 1. That takes directly to the top of turn number 1, and Shade gets the initiative on this one, so Mercator Umbrus of the Clanless Outcasts will be going first. So for her very first activation, the first thing she does actually activates the Shipbreaker. The Shipbreaker actually does a double action charge directly into one-shot blonde, has no problem whatsoever putting her out of action with a critical injury. So because I will need to do a medical escort mission for her when the scenario is over with, and then from there she quickly followed through with Shipbreaker to basically do a follow move directly into Preston Garvey. So now he's got to worry about taking out an Ambot full-blown in close combat. Now for my first set of activations, I actually activated Cal Jericho, who did a group activation with both Scabs as well as Emerista de Catalyst. First thing up is Emerista de Catalyst actually declared a charge off directly onto Santo. Managed to put that guy with a serious injuries on that guy with his attacks from both his toxin weapons for both his poisonous sword, stiletto sword, as well as a stiletto knife. And then from there, instead of staying with him, I decided to follow through and engage Chopper in close combat next, so because he is currently engaged. For my second set of activations, I then activated Scabs and then charged directly into Santo as well. Now, you can't take out an opponent with a coup de grace in this scenario, but you can direct attacks against seriously injured characters, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So Scabs put that guy out with a grievous injury, also getting himself an additional experience point as well. So right now, we're both tied with 1 kill apiece. And then from there, I then activated Cal Jericho. Cal Jericho took a basic action to open fire with his guns. The first one went directly into Tugs, causing a flush wound for that shot, and the second shot went directly into Moloko, putting a serious injury onto him as well. Now, luckily for the Shade, though, the Deserter did manage to pass his cool test, so he is standing his ground. And that makes up our activations so far for turn number 1. Continuing on with the activations for turn number 1, we then go back to Shade. Shade then activates Tough Shakes, who does a group activation real quick with Donnie. So Tough Shakes, of course, does a double action to charge directly into Cal Jericho and engages him in close combat. And both these guys actually failed to do anything against one another. I was able to stop one of Tough Shakes' attack with a parry save on my Dueling Saber, and he was able to do exactly the same thing back to me with his Chainsaw parrying one of my actions. So I only got one attack off. Unfortunately for the both of us, none of us wounded one another, so the two of them are still stuck on the press. Donnie, on the other hand, though, took a basic action aim with his bolt gun and another basic action opened fire with it directly into Scabs. Managed to hit Scabs as well as wound him as well, put a serious injury on him, so because that Scabs is currently on the ground and he is currently bleeding out at this moment. Now, because of that, for my next activation, I then activate Abalista over here, De Catalyst. She is the sniper character. Bounty Hunter's armed with a needle rifle. I had her take Kim Synth real quick so that way she gets a bonus to her Tox weapon. Took another basic action aim and a fire with her needle rifle directly into the back of Hagar Freelord. Managed to hit that guy, wound that guy as well. When it rolled for the injury, rolled an out of action result, so he result with a out cold result, so he'll make a full recovery. However, though, Soldiers, which is this guy over here, though, had to take a cool test because his boss just got taken out, and of course he failed that cool test. He fled 6 inches, hiding behind this barrier right now. And so far, that makes up our activations thus far. So we're going to go through again once again and also complete our activations. And that brings us to our last set of activations for turn number 1. So for the action phase, what ended up happening next, of course, is that Tugs did manage to get back on his feet again. He did try to shoot directly into Scabs, but unfortunately, though, he did miss his shots, because of that, nothing much really happened there. Now, from there, of course, we then go directly back to my phase. I then activate Scalp Taker. Scalp Taker actually does a basic action aim and another basic action with fire with his Hotshot Last Gun directly into Tugs. I do manage to hit Tugs, but I failed to wound him, so he's currently pinned now. From there, Shade then activated the Deserter. The Deserter did a simple action move directly toward these crates, another simple action open fire with his shotgun with solid slugs directly into Scalp Taker, but unfortunately, though, he missed his shot, so nothing much really happened there. I then activated Crimson Wind. Crimson Wind tried to fire back with a poisoned arrow directly into this Deserter, but I missed my shot, so not much occurred there either. And then finally, Chop over here, of course, engaged in close combat against Emerista, but unfortunately for him, though, he failed to hit anybody, so they're perfectly fine, engaged in close combat. Meanwhile, the very last set of activations took place up here with Sheik Shabazz as well as Zero. Zero did a basic action aim and fire with his Hotshot Last Gun directly into the Shipbreaker. And of course, it just bounced off his carapace armor, so nothing much happened there. So Sheik Shabazz then fired next using both shots from his fast shot ability. The first one managed to hit the Ambot and push him back as well. I have to put that guy down, actually. Forgot to move him down a little bit, so we'll do that now. He's also pinned. And the second shot that I did, of course, did nothing. And unfortunately also caused us to both have ammo checks for both these guys, so we'll need to check those guys out later on in the turn. So with the action phase over with, that takes us directly to the end phase for turn number 1. So during the end phase, of course, both of us passed our bottle test, no problem there. However, the Moloko, though, still filled his serious injury table, so because he is still on the ground, he is still bleeding out for the most part, and same thing with Scabs. Scabs is also still on the ground, he is also bleeding out as well, so not much has really occurred for those guys. As for Soldier over here, he did manage to get his nerve back, so because he is no longer broken, at the same time netting himself a bonus experience point. So now that turn number 1 is now officially over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and both Shade and I roll off our initiative to see which of us will have priority. That takes us directly to the top of turn number 2, and I managed to get the initiative on this one, so my very first activation was on Amarista. Amarista, of course, launches attacks using simple actions directly against Chopper. Managed to put that guy out of action with an outcall result, so because he'll make a full recovery, no problem. Now from there, using his impetuous special rule, I then moved up to follow through to go directly behind over here with Soldier, engaging that guy in close combat as well. Now moving on from there for our next set of activations real quick, my friend Sister Shade activated Tough Shakes. Tough Shakes engaged in close combat with Cal Jericho, and I also did my reactionary attacks back. Unfortunately for me, though, I wasn't able to do anything against Tough Shakes, but I did suffer a wound, though, so that part was kind of rough. So it looks like this champion's gained the upper hand against Cal Jericho so far. And because Tough Shakes is also champion, he does a group activation over here with Donnie. Donnie does try to open fire with his bolt gun directly into Scalp Taker, but unfortunately for him, though, he misses his shot, so that pretty much makes up the activations over here. For my next activation, I then go over here to the other side of the table by activating Preston Garvey. Preston Garvey uses his fast shot ability to open fire twice with his long rifle directly into the Shipbreaker. Managed to hit him twice, only wound him once, however, though, so I put one wound on him, so that was kind of nice. But at the same time, though, I also pushed him back 2 inches, the knockback rule. Hopefully what I can do is I can push this guy over the edge, so that way he doesn't bother my guys anymore. Now, unfortunately for me, though, I did suffer a ammo check on that part, so we'll need a reload check on him next turn to see if he could actually fire for his next activation. And that makes up the turn so far for turn number 2 with our action phase. So continuing on their activations for turn number 2, and it ends up having as Shade goes next. Shade activates the Deserter real quick, and the Deserter uses his Overseal ability directly onto Tugs. As you can see, Tugs no longer there. For his first set of activations, he stood up and he moved over to the bout, right about where that vent is, and for his second action, he charged directly into Amarista de Catalyst. Actually attacked him twice, managed to hit him once, and managed to get a wound through as well. But because he also has a displacer field, it also forced Amarista to move down 3 inches to the south. As you see, he's located right there. So he's out of position, can't attack anybody for right now. Now for my next activation, what I decided to do then was to activate Crimson Wind, which is my Nomad is armed with a wild bow. He took a basic action, aim with his wild bow, and another basic action would fire directly into Tugs. Managed to put him seriously injured with a toxin arrow, with a poison arrow going directly into him. And since he went down and he's seriously injured, of course, Soldier had to take a nerve test. And unfortunately for Soldier, he failed his nerve test, and he also ran 12 inches all the way over here to the other side of this little fighting position to take cover for the most part. Now for the next activation afterwards, Shade then activated her and bought the Shipbreaker. Let me go and zoom in real quick for here. So the Shipbreaker stood up for a simple action, moved forward 4 inches for another action, and directly towards Preston Garvey as well. Hopefully I can reload, guys, and hopefully I can keep pushing it back with a knockback trait. If I'm lucky, I can push him off the edge of that bridge, and hopefully that'll be the end of him as well. And so that makes up our activations so far for turn number 2. Alright, so for the last of the activations, the first thing that ends up happening is I activate Avalesta Rain Catalyst. She takes a basic action aim with her needle rifle, another basic action open fire with it, going directly into the Shipbreaker, putting that guy out of action with a spinal injury of all things. So because he will have -1 to his strength, and he automatically goes in recovery as well, which is all kinds of awesome. Now for the rest of the turn after that, what ended up happening afterwards is that the Shade activated, I believe that character's name is Donnie is his name. No, sorry, Moloko. Moloko does a little simple action to move 2 inches in the back there because he's currently seriously injured. As for the rest of the turn, is pretty much dedicated to me, so I did move over Scabs over 2 inches, just crawling forward so that way he can get away. At the same time, up here on the top, I do a simple action to reload the long rifle for Sheikh Shabazz. He takes another simple action to open fire with his long rifle, and it goes directly into the Deserter. Manages to wound him as well as put him seriously pinned right now, so he's got 1 wound down and he's pinned. I do try to shoot him again real fast with 0. Unfortunately for me that I missed my shot, but to add insult to injury, he also gets an ammo check as well. So because of that, pretty much ends turn number 2. So with the action phase for turn number 2 over with, we go directly to the end phase. Alright, so during the end phase, the first thing that ends up happening is that Shade has to take a break test real quick to see if she flees the battlefield. And unfortunately for Shade, she does fail her bottle test, so because that all of her fighters will need to take cool tests at the beginning of turn number 3 to see if they actually stick around. Now, as for the injuries on this one real fast, as you can see in the bottom here, Tugs is still seriously injured, and Soldier over here did not regain his nerve, so he is still currently in hiding. At the same time, add insult to injury as well, over in the top, Moloko is still seriously injured as well. And that pretty much makes up the end phase for this one. So with the end phase over with, Shade decided to call the game early at this point just because she doesn't want to lose any more fighters that she has already, because I do have reinforcements coming in, so he decides to call at this point, and that brings this game officially to a close. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going directly to the post game because this game is officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
First up is Mercator Umbrus. Further injuries, 4 members of this gang were injured. Hagar Freelord got an out cold result, so he makes a full recovery no problem. Santos suffered a grievous injury, however, he makes a full recovery because of the Docs clinic that they have at their settlement. At the same time, Chopper also has a get out cold result, so he makes a full recovery no problem. And then finally, the Shipbreaker suffers a spinal injury, losing 1 point to its strength, but makes a full recovery because of the Docs clinic in the Boneyard, which is the settlement for the Mercator Umbrus. For advancements, 3 members of this gang did level up. Soldier leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to his ballistic skill and increasing his credit value by 5 credits. Darko leveled to level 3, earning +1 to his cool and also earning 10 additional credits to his value. And finally, the Shipbreaker also leveled to level 2, earning +1 movement, as well as increasing its value by 10 credits. Now for the settlement for the Boneyard, they originally started off with 12 power, 15 sustenance, as well as 10 salvage, and after they got done doing all the benefits of their structures, they ended up with 22 power, 15 sustenance, as well as 10 salvage, and they built a critters for defense to protect their settlement. Now for the training post, they got 20 credits from Hagar Freelord's fixture skill, as well as 60 credit from Hagar Freelord's well-connected special rule, giving the grand total of 80 credits in total. With those 80 credits, they spent 70 of them to purchase axes for Tugs, Soldier, Moloko, Donnie, Darko, Bussanine, as well as Santo, and they spent 10 credits to purchase Dum Dum rounds for Runedog. Now for reputation, they lost 1 point of reputation because of bottling out, which drops their reputation to 9 points in total. Their new record now is at 4 wins and 6 losses, and the new gang rate now is at 2,920 points. So moving on to my gang, the Gung-Ho Guns. For my injuries, I suffered 1 injury, which is One-Shot Blonde. She suffered a critical injury, but she makes a full recovery due to the Docs planet that's located in Martyrs and my settlement. For advancements, 2 members of my gang did level up. One-Shot Blonde leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to her Ballista skill and increasing her credit value by 5 points. And Scalp Taker also leveled to level 3, earning +1 to his toughness and increasing his credit value by 30 points. Now for my settlement of Martyrs, and I originally started off with 21 power, 6 sustenance, as well as 26 salvage. By the time I got done recruiting all of the materials from my settlement, I got 31 power, 26 sustenance, as well as 56 salvage. Now I didn't build anything, and the reason why is because I maxed out all of my structures from Martyr's End, so I really can't build any more than I already have. Now for my trading post, I got 110 credits from the scenario, as well as 15 credits from the stash, giving me a grand total of 125 credits in total. I spent 75 credits to purchase Dum Dum rounds, as well as axes for One-Shot Blonde, Mayday, Scalp Taker, Zero, as well as Trixie. And I also spent 40 credits for axes for Scabs, Preston Garvey, Sheik Shabazz, as well as Deadhead Lee. And I took the 10 remaining credits and put those directly into my stash. My reputation is still at 10 points reputation. My new record now is at 7 wins and 2 losses, and my new gang rank now is at 3,015 points. So that's good to do for this, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good to do for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.